this talk about sea level rise, what are we doing? In Pacifica, I'm sure if you watch the news ever in the last 4 to 5 years, you've seen us locally, you've seen us nationally. It's very exciting for those of us who live here. So what are we doing? Right now, well, the last year we worked on our local coastal plan. It was a very hot topic. It was highly contentious. Thanks. A lot of words here, but I'll explain. It was highly contentious. We've got a lot of public and private landowners in Pacifica on the coast. We also have the city of San Francisco, city county of San Francisco that owns some of the property, the golf course there. We were able to, we work with the Coastal Commission. They're in the loop on everything that we're doing. We have a good working relationship with them, so they are privy to everything that we're doing. And some of the community working group members that we put together are actually here today, so thank you. And we were able to approve as a council a draft local coastal plan. So by the end of this year, our fingers are crossed that we will be able to submit that for certification by the Coastal Commission by the end of this year. That last bullet point I'm going to save because it's the best for last. I only have 5 minutes here and I tend to talk fast. So all that local coastal plan stuff, this stuff below is like kind of hangs in the balance on that local coastal plan being approved. We have vital infrastructure all along our coast. It's all vulnerable, with sea level rise, and if you've been to Pacifica, you'll see rocks dropped, riprap, revetment. We do have seawalls that you probably can't see because you can't get to those beaches anymore. And in our local coastal plan, we're looking to build and rebuild several sites where the public infrastructure is deemed as in danger. Some of that public infrastructure, as you all know, is sewers, streets, sidewalks, anything where it's really costly just to put the earth back into place. So some of our projects are on Esplanade, which is more at the north end of town. We actually declared a state of emergency back in 2016, and we are still in that state of emergency because we are in line for some federal funding. We've got a seawall in design with tieback systems. You saw Sydney's presentation where that beach, actually used to walk down that path and surf down at the bottom of that beach, which you can't get to really anymore. And if you go down at the bottom and you look up at some of the spaces, you'll see, a seawall and some tiebacks there. We also have a new seawall at just a little bit further north of there, south of there, that we're waiting on some funding for design. Beach Boulevard, that made the big news. There was a sinkhole there just a few years ago. If you've been to our pier, just a little bit north of there was a sinkhole in our main promenade. It's highly trafficked by locals and tourists alike. We're waiting on funding on that. We have a lot of attention on that as well by local officials, so we appreciate that. How are we getting funding? A variety of areas. FEMA, public assistance, Cal OES disaster assistance, and this is sort of in response, this is after an emergency. This is at the state level. Cal OES hazard mitigation grant, we have a little shining star. There was one house on the 400 block of Esplanade that we were able to work with Cal OES and the hazard mitigation grant funds. We got actually fair market value for. That was sort of a little gem. It took a really long time, but those folks were able to get a little bit of money for their property, but it's long gone. And also Ocean Protection Council, Prop 1, Division of Boating and Waterways, Prop 1. This is all going to help fund our Beach Boulevard rebuilding. So one of the things that we weren't really surprised about, but you may be surprised about, is things take a little bit longer in government. To get the application process for some of these things takes up to a year. So even though we're in a state of emergency, it takes a while. So be prepared, reach out to us. We have got Bonnie O'Connor here who is on our planning team and helps with all of this. So a lot of agencies are working on Coastal Commission, Army Corps of Engineers, Water Board, Fish and Wildlife. It all comes together. So the last thing I wanted to say was we talk about one of the things I wrote in my bio was this neologism. It's a new word called Solastalgia, and it's derivative of nostalgia. And it is the psychological effects, the distress that we are all experiencing because of all the effects of the changes on our climate. All these sorts of convenings that are really just a lot of doom and gloom. And so when you're raising kids in this environment, that's really scary. So every day when my child says, oh, we have to pick up this trash because the fish are gonna die, it's really important for me to combat that. And so the guidance out there is to combat that with hope. So wrap it up, tie it up in a bow with some hope. So I want to wrap it up here with a glimmer of hope that the Office of Sustainability, thank you, has given the Pacifica Sanchez Art Center a grant to implement public art projects related to sea level rise. And so there's going to be 3 projects out there, and they're going to engage the community. We're going to be using our eyes, our fingers, our hands, our words, and we're going to be coming together as a community, talking about it, talking about solutions, what we're seeing and what we're doing, and really just try to bridge that gap and offer some hope for today and tomorrow. So thanks for listening, and please feel free to reach out because I know you're all going to be experiencing some of this soon. Thanks.